Yeah, so earlier as I was looking through boxing news, I see that Conor Benn is being offered a WBC world title shot against Mario Barrios. Makes absolutely zero sense why. Mauricio Solomon is just an absolute disgrace to the sport right now, making some really, really, really ridiculous decisions. And this is one of them. What's Conor Benn done to deserve a title shot? And yeah, I mean, what's even going on with his situation? I mean, it's all being lifted, but it's like it's also strange how everyone's gone about the whole Conor Benn drug situation. I think it's very, very, very strange still, and you still look at him as a guilty man at the end of the day. No matter what, I mean, it's like he wasn't even serving a actual overall suspension from boxing. I mean, yes, he was banned by the British Boxing Board of Control, but overall, he was still able to fight in America. From what Conor Benn's done, he shouldn't have been allowed to fight at all. But I mean, we just didn't hear enough. He wasn't punished enough, and I I just feel like it's the whole thing's unacceptable overall with how everyone's gone about it. But yeah, Conor Benn in a position to challenge Mario Barrios for the WBC welterweight world title. I don't really know how he's got himself in this position from his last few fights as well, especially like what's he done in them. And I mean, the ban that he served, he shouldn't be allowed in this situation, in my opinion. He really shouldn't. The whole thing's a mess. We haven't seen anything that he's innocent or anything like that. They should be providing proof of it with, I mean, they've left the fans massively in the dark to do with this whole Conor Benn situation. And now Mauricio Solomon's handing him a world title shot after he's coming off a win about a year and a half ago over Pete Dobson makes zero sense. I mean, it's very strange in my opinion. I mean, as well, we look at the welterweight rankings and all that as well. I mean, how is Conor Benn number 2 in the WBC and the WBA? I mean, I just think the whole division seems like a mess right now, if we're being completely real. He's number 4 in the IBF somehow, number 7 in the WBO. I just think the whole welterweight division is an absolute mess, if we're being real, to be honest with you. I mean, just look at the state of the welterweight division. Look at the absolute state of it. It's one of the most deadest divisions in boxing right now. If we're being completely honest, that's super welterweight. That's actually a decent division. But yeah, welterweight, not good at all. There's not really great competition in it. And, you're just getting guys like Conor Benn who, have done bad things wrong in the sport and are just being handed these opportunities, and somehow is still high up in the rankings as well. It's just that it's not a good look on the sport at all. It's not a good look on the sport whatsoever. I mean, you look at Liam Cameron, for example. I mean, Liam Cameron was suspended for about 5 years and he didn't even take any performance enhancing drugs. Conor Benn barely got a suspension. I mean, yes, he did from Britain, but he was still allowed to fight elsewhere. So it's all unfair and it's an absolute mess. And it just shows how much of a shambles the sport really is, to be fair. It really does. I was about to show something else. Oh, yes, let's have a quick look at the box rec of Conor Benn. And yeah, we might as well go through this, of course, definitely. Right. If it lets me share, there we go. Right. So let's have a look at the box rec of Conor Benn. I mean, overall as well, Conor Benn's not the power puncher that I think people make him out to be either. He has got, I mean, 60% KO ratio. He's not exactly the power puncher that people make him out to be. I mean, and he got most of his knockouts when he was on the juice at the end of the day. In these last 2 fights that he's had since he's apparently been off the juice, he hasn't been, he wasn't close to knocking out Orozco. He wasn't close to knocking out Pete Dobson. So, yeah, it's strange. And this fight was ages ago now. And how does beating Pete Dobson get you up there and, get you a title shot? It makes no sense. Um, I mean, you just look at it. It's like he beat Pete Dobson, he beat Orozco. I mean, Orozco was the comeback fight last year. Then obviously earlier this year, Pete Dobson. But it's like, what does that do to get you a title shot? Like, it wasn't in really convincing fashion or anything like that either. I mean, yeah, he beat Chris Van Heerden, but at the end of the day, Chris Van Heerden was coming off about a 2.5 year layoff before that Conor Benn fight anyway. So, I mean, and Conor Benn, we've heard things that he was probably juiced up in that fight as well. Chris Algieri was past it when Conor Benn beat him, so he beat an old Chris Algieri, beat an old Adrian Granados, but I don't even think Granados is all that. Beat an old Samuel Vargas, and I mean, it's like his resume isn't all too impressive if we're being real. I think that the Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr. fight is the fight that should be made next, because at the end of the day, Eubank's owed that big fight. It can be made now, and Conor Benn does not deserve a world title shot. It's just a mess. Everything that Mauricio Solomon does right now, it's an absolute mess, and it just doesn't add up. None of it adds up, to be completely honest. And it's a real shame that that Conor Benn is getting into this position when after everything that's gone on with him. I mean, the fans deserve an explanation at least, because of how Eddie Hearn went about it. How everyone went about it. I mean, everyone in boxing to do with it just decided to stay quite quiet overall, and we didn't hear enough about it. And now the ban's being lifted. We haven't heard enough about why is it being lifted, what's going on here. And yeah, I mean, Conor Benn, he hasn't got the resume to deserve a world title shot. How he's so far up in the rankings as well after layoffs, due to not being able to fight in Britain. But obviously, the opposition he was up against in America, like, how does that get you higher up in the rankings? How's he kept his spot? It doesn't make sense whatsoever. I just think it's also strange. I really do. But Conor Benn's not world level either. He's not. Yes, he's beaten former world champions, but they were past it. They're past their prime. All coming off layoffs at the end of the day. So, yeah, Barrios absolutely destroys Conor Benn, but he doesn't deserve the opportunity in the first place. Give him the Chris Eubank Jr. fight. He'll lose that as well. Conor Benn doesn't deserve to, be calling any shots or anything like that either. If the Chris Eubank Jr. fight happens, it should be on Eubank Jr.'s terms without a shadow of a doubt. And I just don't get how he's got a title shot anyway. But it looks like that Eubank Jr. fight might be off. But, he owes Eubank back. It's as simple as that. He does. Everyone owes Eubank back after what's gone on with it. Anyway, thanks for watching.